Hi guys, I'm Newcomb-Yi, and this is my lifespan timeline for Kine 372. This presentation was recorded on June 24th, 2023. A little bit of an introduction. I'm from Saginaw. I went to Heritage High School, and then I attended the Great Lakes Bay Early College, where I attended SVSU full-time while fulfilling my high school requirements, starting my junior year of high school. I played softball, volleyball, and basketball growing up. And yeah, I'm an exercise science major here at SVSU, and I'm on the pre-physical therapy track. So starting off with infancy reflexes, we have sucking, which involves jaw movement, and this is important for taking in food, and it's the most primitive of our reflexes. And we have stepping, which involves the infant's feet lifting off of a surface, and this is one of the most debated reflexes. And then we have propping the propping or parachute reflex, where the infant's arms open in what appears to be an effort to catch themselves when they are being put down, and this is a protective response for the infant. And then we have voluntary movements in infancy. We have sitting, which typically happens around 3 months. In the picture you can see here, it appears I'm sitting up mostly unassisted, possibly with minimal assistance. And then the next is crawling, which happens around 7 to 8 months, and walking, which happens around 12 months or a year old. Personally, I think that I was pretty normal in terms of milestones as an infant. I think I did walk a little bit earlier than 1-year-old, but nothing too crazy. Maybe only a couple months early. And then foundational skills, we have of childhood, we have the overhand throw. This involves a wind-up initiated with downward movement of the hands and arms, hip rotation and shoulder rotation, and shoulders point to where the non-throwing side faces the wall. Weight transferred as the individual steps with their foot opposite of throwing hand, and finally a fall through beyond ball release diagonally across the body towards the non-preferred side. Next we have catch. This involves a preparation phase with the hands in front of the body and elbows flexed, preparing. Arms then extended while reaching for the ball as it arrives, and ultimately the ball is caught with your hands only. And then lastly, we have striking a stationary ball. This involves a dominant hand gripping a bat above the non-dominant hand. The non-preferred side of the body will face imaginary pitcher with their feet parallel, hip and shoulder rotation during the swing, as well as transfer of body weight. And ultimately, the individual makes contact with their bat on the ball. I personally learned these skills rather early on and excelled through the initial and elementary stages, and then progressed to the mature stage and mastered these skills and was playing softball competitively by the age of about 10. Moving on to specialized skills of the childhood, I have two. The first one is learning to spar in Taekwondo. If you don't know, sparring is a competitive way to fight with another person. So protective gear is worn. And then in terms of progression, I would say practicing these skills, this skill in particular, I would use blocked, serial, and random practice. So learning to practice different types of kicks and punches on their own and mastering these skills on their own. And then practicing with a partner with predetermined moves of attack and defense, and then random practice. So making sure you know, making sure you have the tools under your belt in terms of punching and kicking and blocking in order to be able to successfully spar against an opponent, and then practicing with another person with predetermined sequences of attacks and defense in order to get a feel for how to protect yourself and the best methods of attacking. And then random practice, again, the most authentic, where you can really kind of freestyle and utilize the skills you know off the top of your head. And then we have the specialized skill of learning to dive for a softball. So the progression involves recognizing the need to dive launching from your feet and falling forward, catching the ball, and landing safely with the ball still in your glove. For this skill, I would say blocked practice is likely the best method, especially at the beginning of learning this skill. For this skill specifically, I would say we're talking in terms of a pop-up or a ball in the air and diving for that. So I would say I would practice just diving for the ball, and then starting with your coach or a partner throwing the ball from a closer distance and diving for that, and then having the other individual hit the balls to you or throw pop-ups from a farther distance away, and then practicing the skill so that ultimately when you're in the game, again, just like with Taekwondo, sparring, you don't like exactly know what's going to happen. There's no predetermined course of action, so that you can have this tool, again, under your belt, know how to do it, so that in the game, you're able to recognize the need for it and being able to execute the skill. And then going into adulthood, some milestones. So in my 20s, I hope to earn my Bachelor's of Science in Kinesiology here at SVSU. I would like to get accepted into a physical therapy program and ultimately earn my doctorate of physical therapy, and then start my career as a travel physical therapist. And then in my 30s, I believe I'll want to settle down at this point and start a family, so I'd find a non-traveling job, either inpatient or outpatient. I'm not 100% sure as of right now. And then also buying a house to prepare for starting a family and having kids. And then in my 40s, I would want to continue to progress in my career wherever I may be at that point. My children, if I do have them in my 30s, will be in middle school and high school, so they'll still live at home with me. And then my parents will be aging. And then in my 50s, I think I would like to become a professor. I think it'd be very interesting and fun. Definitely after seeing Dr. Lincoln, as he's a PT and also teaches here at SPSU, so I think that's very interesting. And then my children will be starting to graduate high school and moving on to college, so I'll be starting to become an empty nester at this point. And then there's a possibility of decline in parents' health, but that could happen at any time. And then in my 60s, I'll probably think about retiring. We'll see how I feel at that point. Definitely want to be traveling. Would like to do that throughout my life, but I feel like this might be prime time to travel, given that I will likely be an empty nester. And then the possibility of becoming a grandparent if my kids decide that they want their own kids. And then in my 70s, if I have grandkids, they'll be growing up. So kind of going through the same thing I did with my kids, just my grandkids will be growing up. And then if I haven't already retired at this point, then I probably will retire. And then in my 80s, possibility of decrease in health and independence begins. Hopefully I'm a healthy individual when I'm in my 80s and that I don't have a huge decrease in independence. And then I'll focus on spending time with family, especially. I would assume I'm definitely going to be retired at this point, so kind of focusing again, spending time with family, and then also any hobbies. I don't know if I learned to crochet or painting or whatever that may be. Hopefully staying active because I hope to live into my 90s. In my 90s, if I do make it there, I would see continued decrease in health and independence. And there is the possibility that I either may need to go into a nursing home, or if one of my kids are so gracious enough as to let me live with them, and then they can kind of be my caregiver, again, depending on my overall health and my independence, my ability to be independent. So overall, infancy, I developed rather normally, maybe a little bit early, but nothing crazy. Childhood, I learned how to spar in Taekwondo, and then also diving to catch a softball. And then adulthood, I hope to live a long and healthy life into my 80s or 90s. Thank you.